And on top of that, I've actually gotten to see some preview reviews slash thoughts on the Mac, not the Mac, the Vision Pro, which is Apple's new AR headset, which is what we're just going to start with for talking here. Now, if you didn't know, Apple basically announced a Vision Pro VR headset. This was a week ago, so you should know by now. But this is a fascinating product, not just because of its capability as a AR slash VR headset, but by price and what Apple is targeting with this headset. As we know, Apple's never been the biggest fan of gaming. They're not number one when it comes to pushing gaming. They don't really care. Now, they did actually make an effort part during part of their event when they were showing off that M2 can actually run games pretty well. So they did talk about it to an extent, but it was not the focus of anything. And what I would say they mostly showed off with Vision Pro is using it in an environment where you don't have monitors with you, maybe you have your laptop and your headset, and then you can make big monitors to use with it. Not as something that you would be playing games on, or it was mostly for content watching slash, like I said, taking your current environment and making it part of your virtual experience. Now, the other weird thing they did here is letting your eyes show through. I don't, I understand, and at the same time, I don't really get it. But let's talk about what is the purpose of this $3,500 headset. So, yes, $3,500. I think this is going to be very fascinating. Of just finishing a podcast with Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg, and they talked about Quest 3 a little bit. And if Quest 3 lives up to what they were discussing on that show, I don't know who's going to buy this other than top company executives or something like that, because it's just not going to be it, because you can't do everything you want to do on there. That said, this headset's really cool. You can control it with just your hands and eyes, so it uses eye tracking and hand tracking to do all your scrolling, your selecting, your picking things out, all of that stuff completely done by your hands and your eyes. Now, this will be coming early next year in the US. And from what I have heard, so you have your little, crown there, a bigger crown here. Apple loves their crown. You have really cool audio chips right here. The headband and headset are supposed to actually be very comfortable from what I've heard. I've also heard they're fairly heavy, so it might not be the most fun to wear for the entire 2 hours that the battery can last up to. But creators have said that in the half-hour previews they were allowed that it did get a little bit heavy towards the end. I've seen a couple creators state that. Not saying it's uncomfortable to wear while you're wearing it, but it is a heavy headset. It's kind of like AirPods Max. It's built strong and it's got weight to it and it's quality materials, and that's just what you're going to get. But here's a little bit of what I was talking about here. Almost all of their demos showed something similar to this, where you can see they have their mail open on one side, Safari in the middle, and another Safari tab on the left, I think. But the main point being is she's able to see her entire environment, the real things in her environment, but she also gets these 3 monitors that are coming right off of her laptop in front of her, which are kind of cool to have that, but that's something like Quest 2 can do that. Now, it only does it in black and white, and Quest 2 was also only $300. So there's a giant price difference in the capability here. But what I was listening to Mark Zuckerberg talk about with Quest 3 is it's going to have color pass-through like this, and it's going to be able to augment your environment. Now, Apple didn't show off too much augmentation of their environment other than with Mac products to pull the screen up above to a bigger screen. But one of the things that I've talked about with Quest 3 is they were discussing that there was a setup where basically you were doing zombies, COD zombies. If you've ever played that, it's basically survival in a limited area, and every round a certain amount of enemies spawn, you have to kill them. And what they were doing is they would add, if you were in a room with no windows, it would add windows to the room, and you'd be able to see other people in the room with you and your environment. If you this table here would be in there for me, but I'd be able to the virtual gun I was using, I could set down on the table, and then I'd be able to come back to the table and pick up the virtual gun. And so that was actually really cool to listen. Obviously, it's not out yet. It's supposed to come out in the fall. But if that's true, for $3,500, is it worth what you're getting here? Now, Quest can also already do hand tracking and eye tracking. It's not the best, but they can already do it, and it's way less of a price. They're targeting different things here, I guess, is the main point of this, where they're trying to have your apps live in your space. Now, they didn't really have any third-party apps to really show off here. Almost all of it was just Apple stuff. Part of announcing it now and saying it's going to be ready next year is to give some developers time to, like, do this stuff. So Apple must have a pretty easy way to make things possible. As you can see here, they are showing off some ways to game here in this little entertainment thing, if it ever scrolls back to it, where you can pick up a controller and play. Now, this is an Apple Arcade game is the only thing here. So there is a little bit of... It's not like you're getting full-on VR games. Like, you're not going to get Beat Saber or anything like that from what we've seen so far. Now, that said, Vision Pro can... It's got pretty amazing screens. I believe they said that if you were to take 1 pixel from the iPhone and cut it into 64, that would be the density of the pixels in this headset. So it's going to have extreme sharpness, extreme clarity. You're going to be able to FaceTime people from it, see them walk around, do things, and they're going to see an avatar which you can scan into the headset by pointing the headset at your face. It'll scan your face, and then it'll do all the eye tracking and face tracking to do the whatever you're doing. It'll have your avatar do it in the FaceTime for them, which is kind of weird. One of the other things they showed off is 3D cameras to capture your memories here. Let's see if they have anything here. Yeah, so like this picture here. This here, I'm sorry, I'm never doing this with the headset. I am not interested. To wear your headset around like this and watch things, this glass here that we're talking about, it's displays. You're not actually looking through the headset. It's not transparent. It is taking your avatar that you scanned in, tracking your eyes, tracking them onto the screens on the outside, and displaying that through, which looks super weird, by the way. And I'm not doing this. I am not ever going to watch with the headset on. I'm not going to watch people, like, things happening in front of me and be like, I want to record this. Now, if it gets to the point where it's a pair of sunglasses like this, and they fit, and they're, like, pretty nice, like we've seen a little bit of this with Snapchat's glasses, and Google Glass tried to do this, but if they get to the point where it's like the Tony Stark level of glasses, then that's more, I would be willing to do that. An entire headset like this feels so wrong. One of the other things we should mention here is that the battery pack actually is meant to sit in your pocket, gets you 2 hours of battery, and even with the battery not in the actual headset, people were saying it was heavy. So that's just something to note. It is cool though, like if you were watching a movie, people like to put lights on their stuff that match up to the scene of the movie they're watching and like make the ambience closer. But a headset like this could actually like just doesn't even have to be the exact environment, because if you're watching what's happening in front of you, you can only focus on such a narrow field anyways, that if you're like watching a forest scene and it just fills in the rest with forest, that could make it quite a bit more immersive. But that's another thing that other headsets can do. So what are you really getting with this $3,500 price tag? You're going to get something really cool. Obviously, it's from Apple. I mean, it looks really nice. The sound's going to be great. It's Apple. It's going to be a great product. It's not going to be like it's a bad thing. But I think we're a little bit in the AirPods Max space where for $200 less, sure, the build quality won't be there, but the sound, the noise cancellation, all of that'll be there. Other thing you're getting with this is just kind of you're getting the Apple ecosystem. So you're getting the ability to, if you're doing something on your laptop, you pull it into your headset. You're doing something on your phone, you pull it into your headset. You don't have to reconnect it to other things. It all just works, right? That's the Apple promise here. But as cool as it is, as great as it will be, I don't know. I just the price tag just gets me. It just hangs me up, because you have people like Meta or Oculus, which are they're the same company, but I'm going to use them as our example here. But the Oculus Quest 3 is supposed to be about 40% smaller than the Oculus Quest 2 and get better performance. I think he said something on the podcast like 2 times the graphical performance, which would be insane because the life of that headset has already been crazy, and I just don't see a reason Zuckerberg even said it on the podcast. He was like, "This is cool. This is actually going to bring attention to the space. This is going to make the space more legit." As Apple always does, when it enters a field, it makes things more legit. But I think the main benefactory of the Apple doing this is going to be the Quest product. I don't think we're going to see anything super cool here. So, an M2 chip is actually in the headset to power it all on and make things happen and run Vision OS. And the brand new R1 chip is designed to dedicated processes from the cameras, sensors, and microphones and streaming images to the display within 12 milliseconds. So that's something that is super impressive. 12 milliseconds is almost, virtually lag free. It's Apple says it right here, and they're not wrong. And as always, Apple's big privacy thing here as well. You'll be able to connect it to your phone. There's a new platform to code with. And I believe Apple also announced a way to translate your games over to it to try and make it a little bit easier for people to make things quickly. I'm trying to see here if I have any other notes here. Yeah, they said the eye tracking, reviewers that got to use it for 30 minutes said the eye tracking, the hand tracking is insane. It's way better than everyone else. And this product still has, 8 months till it's actually going to be released to the public. And with that, there's something to be said about if you're using a VR, AR headset, having controllers. Because even if, you're picking up physical things and if you're in an AR environment, an augmented reality environment, you can grab them, you can feel them, you feel the actual objects. You get tactile feedback. Now, without controllers, if you go to pick up a virtual object, like, you don't feel anything, there's no vibration, there's no sense of actually holding it, which I think could be the one thing that, takes this off of it. And again, I'm going to keep comparing it to Quest 3 because Zuckerberg was talking about it, and I thought it was fascinating I think he said it's going to be $500, what it's going to be capable of. He said you'll be able to do all that stuff with it. Eye tracking, hand tracking will all be able to be done with Quest 3. And again, that's at $500. We're shaving $3,000 off that price tag. I'm not saying it's going to be as sharp, as clear as, I don't think the actual displays you're looking at are going to be nearly as good as Apple's AirPods. That said, are they going to be plenty good for just about everybody who uses them? Probably. And then there's, to be said, having controllers. So when you pick something up in a virtual world, you get a little vibration, you get a rumble that makes it feel like, okay, I actually grabbed it. I just grabbed it. Like, it's actually in my hand. I think that's just going to be lacking here, and it's kind of unfortunate to see that. Now, one other thing, the last thing here is with the 2-hour battery, you can plug into the battery to a wall and keep using the headset. So you could use it for more than 2 hours, but you'll be tethered at that point, and so on. Yeah, they showed off some cool stuff with it, but I think they missed the mark here, to be honest. Unfortunately, when you're not a gaming company, and that's pretty much all VR is right now, you're basically trying to, with what they showed off at the event, obviously it's more capable. Like, you're not doing this. You're not staring at your husband with your headset on, having a conversation. I don't think people are ready for that yet. Maybe I'll be shocked. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. But I think what Apple's mainly going to end up trying to convince people to do here is you're trying to convince people that don't bother buying a $3,500 TV. Like, you could buy a $3,500 TV, everyone in your house can sit down and watch it at the same time. You don't want that. You want a personal movie theater strapped onto your face, and yeah, it'll offer you FaceTime, yeah, it'll offer you web browsing, be able to video edit on it if you have a laptop with you, and blah, 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 blah. Maybe at some point you won't need a laptop with you, but for right now, that's kind of how they showed off doing things like that. And yeah, this is the theater thing. Why wouldn't you just buy a TV? I feel like most of what they showed off is just having more monitors. But for $3,500, you could get so many things, and the monitors that they're making you showing off here. It's a weirdly placed product. I think we'll see what happens. Maybe in 8 months, these third-party apps will come along and completely change how I see this product. But I think at the price point for what they showed it capable of, as of right now, this can be a really rough sell. And at the end of the day, there's still Apple fanboys, and they're going to sell it.